Another interesting shader in a Sketch and Toon is a hatch shader. You can create something like this. For better understanding the hatch shader, we use with this simple image. That is a simple black line at a white background with a smooth edges. Then the software create the hatch something like this. For better understanding that, we create a simple material and give it to the landscape, and its material it's better to be rendered, better seeing that any changes. Go into the color, in the texture, Sketch and Toon, then hatch. If you go to the hatch, first it tells you we have some tabs that explain it. First tell you give me a texture to create a hatching for you. You can load anything that you want, but I load an image that with a simple line. Okay, and it's simply create an hatching for me. It's expand the lines, connect them, and so on. First, I want to scale the scaling down to see more hatches with the scale. The first thing is the tile UV. If this, as you can see in the borders, you can better see here. If it creates some tiling at the connections, you can see these issues. If you activate tile UV, it's completely connect them together and you cannot see any issues at the connections. It's better to be checked. Rotational UV, it's completely create another hatches perpendicular to others. Here you can rotate. You can rotate all hatches at once. And it's different between this rotation and this rotation. If you rotate it more, you can see it rotates hatches randomly. So it is uniform rotation and this is random rotation. You can see the difference between them. You can offset them. You can offset them in a U, change them or offset them. You can see here, you can offset in any direction that you want to fit the perfect. Density, you can make more dense hatches or less. Density in U or density in V, you can change them. For example, decrease the number of density in V and we have less hatches in that direct direction. How much scatter in U, how much scatter in V, if you want. For example, how much scatter in U, we have more line hatches. A spacing between hatches in a V or a spacing between hatches in a U, you can control them. And you have a variation, randomly changing the space in U and V of the hatches. A scale in any direction, U and V. We have two axes because it's a 2D texture. You imagine it's an X and it's an Y. For example, a scale in this any direction for changing the length of the hatches, and variation you can randomly the variation this variation this variation this. Okay, crosses, it's create perpendicular hatches with this angle or less. You can change this angle of the rotation. Okay. I give a rotation in this direction. My light is that direction. Density 100%. Nice. Now, because it is not black and white, you can completely go to the color and change. We have two strokes, dark strokes and light strokes. Dark strokes means if you go to the illumination, you can show the dark strokes or show light strokes. If you want to seeing that, you have to turn on the lights to calculate the dark and show. Now you can see, because of the specular of light, because we activated here, you can see the light stroke now. Show light stroke. Then you can change the color of the light stroke to seeing them better. The light stroke are the stroke that are in the specular of the light, because we have a simple light in here. Okay, so you can activate it here, or you can, again, if you don't want, you cannot see them, and you can turn off the light to light doesn't calculate and change the strokes. So in a color, you can change the dark stroke. It means the main stroke color. You can change the color of them simply. And here you can change the background. Interesting, the background. So if you give the black and white to the texture of the shader, here in the color, you can change all of the three colors. In illumination, so we have a dark stroke, and you can change the, it's a multiplier of the density of the hatches if you want. And the threshold is control the, you can hear it's control the border of between the light and dark stroke. For example, lower number, let's see what happened here. So we have a completely a border, for example, this number. Now we can see we have a border between, this is a control threshold control this border. Like the previous cell shader that I explained before, you can use a bump. You can use the specular as a camera, as a source. You can activate a specular. If you use the light in a specular here, you can see difference here. Okay, let's see. It's better seeing that, it's better to turn off the lights. No, we have to turn on the light. Specular, can change it. To actually control the specular, it means you can see the dark stroke. You cannot see in this direction because it's black and it's going to the white. Don't change the color because it's a black and white gradient that control the specular, and with this control specular you can see dark. For example, you can invert it to see. You can see, you cannot see because all of them are white and you cannot see the specular. This is a black and white code to control where you can see these dark specular. These are light specular with a different color that you can see it now. You can control it. How much do you want to see them? You can see more. This is, you can imagine this dark is for dark and this isn't for light. If we have more dark area here, you cannot see the main stroke that I call them darkest. If you have a less white, we cannot see dark area anymore. Something like that. So this is black and white control how much the border between black and light and dark stroke, like diffuse. And like I did before, if we have a shadow, you can control the shadow of the object, and you can create a hatches with them, something like that. You can see we have a shadow that we can give the hatches also in a shadow. Then you can control actually fall off of the shadow hatches with these sliders. And modify contrast. As we can see, we have a uh, smooth fall off between dark and light strokes. The light strokes again they are creating with the specular, and you can make a contrast border between them if you want, not fall off. Can be having a smooth border between them. And again, important part here is a light, because this light is creating the light stroke. You have to tell which light you want to create it if you have a lot of light. If the mode is in exclude and we don't have any light here, it calculates all light. But if you want to include some light, you have to tell software which light do you want to include and create these settings for you, not other light if you insert in scene. Okay, that's it.